Namaste. Welcome to session 5 of Yoga Secrets You Probably Didn't Learn in Class. And goes for Westerners, by the way. This class is geared towards Westerners. If you're from India, you know all this stuff already. So the fifth yogic secret that you probably didn't learn in class is there's certain yogic hygiene, okay, that often is not included in Western yoga classes. I know when I first started going, this wasn't mentioned and nor included. And if you go to your own classes, you might look around the room and you might notice that a lot of these rules are not being observed. So the first practice, or the first yogic hygiene habit, is we don't eat before class. That is probably one of the most important things, because yoga asana is the purification of what in yoga we call the annamaya kosha, which is the food sheath. The sheath, or the covering of the soul, the atman, which is created by food. Okay, so in order to purify it, we don't want to take in food, okay, before we're practicing. So when I started, it was in the Iyengar system, and right in the book by Sri B.K.S. Iyengar, it says in the very first page, look it up if you don't believe me, page 1, yoga should be practiced on an empty stomach. If this is difficult, a cup of coffee, tea, or cocoa may be taken. Simple. So other teachers may be more strict, but it's generally okay. Okay. Have a cup of coffee or tea and go to your yoga class or do your practice. It's all right. Second rule is also having to do with food, and that is, and this was mainly enforced by my most recent teacher. We weren't allowed to eat immediately after a practice. We were, I mean, of course we were hungry. You know, we got up early in the morning. We practiced on an empty stomach. We practiced for, 2-3 hours. And yeah, you get out of there, you're hungry, but you're supposed to wait a half an hour. And this is because we're purifying the annamaya kosha. And so the prana, even though you're done practicing, the prana is still working. Okay, what is it working on? It's working on the obstruction in your body. It's digesting. It's assimilating the obstruction in your body. So ideally, after you practice, you want to give it, at least 20 minutes, a half an hour before you go gobbling down an enormous meal. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3 is don't drink water during practice. So how many times have you been in a Western yoga class? Particularly, I'm sure the hot yoga, I'm sure this is done all the time. And I'm not educated in the hot yoga. I never did, the yoga and the sauna kind of thing. So that might have completely different rules. But in the lineage that I practiced, which was the Krishnamacharya lineage from Tirumalai Krishnamacharya, water is not taken during practice. And this is because in yoga, we're cultivating what's known as our Agni, that is an inner fire. And so because it's a purificatory practice. So when you see images of saints or yogis that are very highly advanced, they're always glowing, right? They're glowing. Their skin is like smooth and beautiful and radiant, and they have kind of a glow around them. And this is known as tejas. And tejas is a reflection of this Agni, this inner fire. So if you drink water while you're practicing, you're putting out the fire, okay? So you don't want to drink water while you're practicing. Number 4, yogic hygiene. Now, when I was back in the day, I've been practicing yoga almost 40 years. So back in the day, this was common knowledge when I was going to class, but I'm not sure how it is today. But I'm just mentioning for women, and by women, I mean someone who actually has a uterus, okay? You do not go upside down when you're on your period, okay? This is because the menstrual flow is riding upon the apana vayu, the downward moving wind. And when you're menstruating, you don't want to reverse the flow, okay? You want to let that flow come down, okay? So don't go upside down on your period. And also, do not do a strenuous practice on your period. If you're in India, It's absolutely no practice on your period. However, in the West, I understand that's a little bit more hard for Western women. It's really not in our culture. So easy practice. When you're menstruating, very easy practice, seats, restoratives, definitely no jumping around and no going upside down. Okay. Number 6 is moon days. Full and new moon are considered very strong energy, high energy days. And this is widely observed in India. And so it's not recommended to do a strong practice on new and full moon days. In fact, it's often a day off, because in this system, it's generally a 6-day-a-week practice with 1 day off per week for your body to integrate what you've been doing on the other 6 days. So if a full or new moon falls, obviously twice a month, those are definitely your days off. Okay, number 7, yogic hygiene is, in yoga, we always breathe through our nose, okay? We don't mouth breathe. I think this is, again, probably more common in the West. Definitely if you have cold or you have stuffed up nose, there's a tendency to breathe out of the nose, but some people are quite unintentionally mouth breathers. Generally, this is not the case with yoga students, but if you're a yoga student, you really want to have this one down. You don't breathe out of your mouth, because breathing the nose is said to bring the prana into the higher centers of your brain. Animals, like a dog panting out with the tongue, will breathe through the mouth. So if you want to fuel higher consciousness, which is what yoga is all about, you want to be bringing prana up into the head through the nose. Okay. And the last yogic hygiene that I'm going to mention today is, if you're serious about your practice, you need to have what's known as a sattvic diet. And that is generally a vegetarian diet. And the reason for the vegetarian diet or the sattvic diet is because it's really a hygienic and a vibrational observance. Because in yoga, we're very conscious of the vibrations of the environment and the vibrations of the substances we're taking in our body. And animals in the slaughterhouse, the animal knows it's going to be slaughtered. It's often in, less than desirable conditions. It's very uncomfortable. There's a lot of fear. There's pain. There's death. And so in yoga, it's said that you're taking in those negative vibrations, and that's going to affect your state of consciousness. So that's one reason that you don't want to eat meat. Another reason is it's very heavy. So a yogic diet is wanting to be light, and roots and fruits are the traditional classic yogic diet. Roots, because they keep you grounded, so you can stay grounded while you're still light. And fruits are considered the most sattvic food. They're full of structured water and very hydrating and nourishing. So sattvic diet. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the practice. Thank you so much. Namaste.